We love you, Nico. We love you. We are. Thank you for being an example to the Cuban youth, to the Venezuelan youth. And as an example of fight against domination on this World Congress of Youth Anti-Fascist Students, which was filled with debate. We have more than 500 international delegates meeting in Caracas for this Congress. 1,000 delegates combining international and Venezuelan delegates to be able to draw a plan, an anti-fascist plan. There were 7 work tables where we discussed how today's youth in factories, in companies, how every youth working around the world can come together against fascism, how women can join this fight as well, how we are also trying, while fighting fascism, to promote alternatives to climate change. We also spoke about social media, how fascism has infiltrated and operated through social media and mass media, and especially which would be the strategies to counter that. In this new era for humanity and with new means of communication, we need to discuss the role to be played by the youth. Also the role of culture, of how we should foster our cultural heritage. As you have said, we need to know where we come from in order to know where we are going. To that common destiny, shared destiny, based on solidarity amongst the peoples. This Congress has issued a number of interesting proposals, which would be taken into account by the International Fascist Meeting, which had its first meeting in Venezuela in September. And we now want to have a chapter for youth and students in the world on this anti-fascist struggle. We have a lot to do. Venezuela was the center of this anti-fascist movement. Among the proposals, very important proposals that we have made, we have discussed creating a powerful think tank to organize ideas around an ideology for a school, anti-fascist school, which would be based in Caracas. And so that school may foster research into all the necessary tools to fight fascism. Our international delegates were also able to enjoy a social agenda along the debates. So, and we will be meeting next year and we expect to organize next year a festival for anti-fascist youth from around the world. We want to show that in the whole world there is youth, there are young people who are fighting against fascism, which is the greatest enemy of humanity, more than ever present today. Youth from around 72 countries from around the world. We commit to making everything that is necessary to bring down fascism in the world. Down with fascism. Long live free peoples in the world. Long live self-determination. Mr. President, we will continue to fight together for a multipolar world where everyone will be able to coexist peacefully in love and unity. And Mr. President, there were several stands in this Congress. Some had murals, some other encouraged writing. We are creating a huge book of anti-fascist youth around the world for them to incorporate poems, essays regarding anti-fascist movement. And we also had some art crafts. And we want to give you this bracelet, which was made by international delegates and Venezuelan delegates to this Congress, which reads anti-fascism. We want to give you this bracelet as a symbol of unity of the peoples of the world in the constant fight against fascism. And we are very grateful and we hope Venezuela will continue to be the center of this anti-fascist movement. And Mr. President, with this three-color bracelet symbolizing the force of the world, for this beautiful space that you have given us for this closing ceremony, we want to show you a video to commemorate this date, which is very important, which is your birthday. It is an honor for us that you have come here to share with us this closing ceremony, given the fact that it is your birthday. Youth people around the world will stand firm, we shall overcome. We say down with fascism. Let's make the fight against fascism international. Let's make hope international. President Nicolás, today we are gathering not just to celebrate your leadership, but your dedication to the construction of a prosperous society. Since you were a small kid in the Caracas neighborhoods, we have been followed your steps till you became a leader. We value your commitment to the Venezuelan people. We have strengthened the sovereignty of Venezuela, and we are with you, standing with you. And we are very proud that you are the President of the Republic of Venezuela. We wish you a very happy birthday, and we want to stay with you to guarantee the best future ever for our homeland. Happy birthday to the President Nicolás Maduro. Youth people of around the world wish you, Mr. President, a very happy birthday. We have been debating, and now we will read the final declaration of this first World Youth Anti-Fascist Congress. Reading that closing statement would be of Mohammed from Palestine. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. The Caracas Declaration, World Youth Anti-Fascist Congress. We, over 1,000 students from around the world, gather in this World Students Youth Anti-Fascist Congress, met in Caracas on the 22nd and 23rd of November. We take on the importance of meeting together to fight and overcome the utmost expression of hatred, which is fascism and all of its similar trends. Fascism not only attacks democracy, but it deprives peoples of their elementary rights, and it fosters violence and death. It becomes our most enemy, and it is against well-being and sovereignty of the peoples. We commit to fighting against all kinds of oppression and discrimination, acknowledging capitalism, colonialism, racism, patriarchy, all come from hatred, which has the fake belief of a group being superior to another social group. Given our historic responsibility that we have today for better humanity, so we condemn the imposition of unilateral sanctions by economic blocs or countries against the sovereignty and the self-determination of any country. We also condemn the presence of military bases by NATO countries. We condemn policies and discourses that foster division among the peoples and any kind of discrimination promoted by fascism, like Zionism, terrorism, the terrorism exerted by Israel against the Palestinian people, and we also condemn any other attempt of manslaughter or onslaughtery against any free people around the world. We adhere to the International Anti-Fascist Organization, creating a chapter of youth and students, and we shall hold assemblies and forums to discuss strategies for historic current resistance. We need to draw a plan of new ways of countering fascism. We should promote education that promotes respect, diversity, inclusion, and the sovereignty of peoples. We need to foster critical thinking by organizing educating campaigns, creating awareness on the history of fascism and its current forms. We are proposing to create a powerful think tank and a school to train against fascist trends based in Caracas. We will foster active participation and direct participation of youth to become leaders in social political movements, defending democratic and anti-fascist values. We also want to fight for the salvation of the human species, and we will prioritize environmental issues, which are degradation of the environment as a consequence of capitalism and fascism. We want to foster healthy ways of production, to diversify the economy, to increase sovereignty for peoples. We need to also defend the rights of youth workers around the world and workers in general to generate the maximum happiness for people. We also need to combat the monopoly of communication media generated by the technological imperialism, denouncing platforms that promote hate speech. And we commit to constructing a set of norms to defy the status quo with a message of resilience, hope, and we need to do that through all media around the world to combat reactionary right-wing media around the world. We want to create a research center of any kind of fascist expression. We need to develop research lines on fascism. We need to stress the need to decolonize the way of thinking through cinema, which we find in cinema, literature, visual arts. We need to promote cultural diversity, organizing cultural events which would celebrate resistance and youth creativity. We want to celebrate in January 2025 a huge anti-fascist festival. And we want to stand together with the Venezuelan people in the inauguration ceremony of President Maduro next January. This International Congress of Anti-Fascist Youth stems from the human need to guarantee the survival of the human species, and that's why we commit to life, peace, and we will overcome fascism. Long live the Anti-Fascist International. Long live the Anti-Fascist International. Long live Chavez. Long live Venezuela. Long live free peoples in the world. Long live a free Palestine. And on behalf of all of our delegates, we want to give you the Blue Book of the Arabs. A great initiative, thank you. With all this emotion, let's stand to welcome a very loyal man, a man who embodies all the characteristics of the people, for he is a people's man, a man who has defended principles throughout his life, the dignity of the people, peace, and sovereignty. Let's welcome the constitutional president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros. Thank you. All of these days, all of those last few days, have been very intense regarding emotions. Because getting all this much love from our people, from people from around the world, joining us on this historic fight against fascism, leaves a mark in our minds and in our hearts. It fills us with renewed energy, and it demonstrates today more than ever that we are on the right side of history, on humanity's side, on the right of people fighting for peace and a new world. But I think I may be right in saying that you, all of you present here, Ariadna means light. Luis Angel, the president of junior and senior high school students. Rosa Inés Chavez. And everybody present here, I want to express to you I'm amazed that you, being so young, and feel such admiration and love, and provide support to the anti-imperialist and anti-fascist struggle of the Venezuelan people, which is an example and admired through the world. We have here flags from Bolivia, Palestine, Peru, from the Sahrawi Republic, from Russia, China, flags from around the world being raised alongside our flag, also from Brazil, Argentina, from Mexico, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama. They are standing with our flag, our three-color flag, designed by Francisco de Miranda, and which led liberating armies who expelled Spanish colonial power, which ruled this land for 300 years. That flag of 8 stars, including the 8th star, which is beautiful and bright because it is the star planted in the Orinoco in our Essequibo, Guyana, and which represented all the battles taken place 200 years ago by popular armies against colonialism, led by Bolivar, with Sucre also as a general, Manuela Sanz with her sword guiding those armies. An epic history that's very much present. So you may understand the many emotions that run through our brain all these days, and especially today. This is a very thrilling experience. And I was telling my wife today, there was no other way to celebrate my 62 years. There's no better way than to celebrate my birthday here with anti-fascist youth from around the world, because you are the hope of the world. Thank you, young people. Raise your flags. Give me all your strength, because we have a unity to build. Let it ring. Let the sound of drums, of the peaceful drums and the victory drums, be heard. It's been 62 years for me. Today, at around this hour, I came into this world crying. So said my mother. She began having labor contractions in the morning. She had already had 3 children, my 3 elder sisters. My sisters pretend they are younger than me, so they don't like me recalling the fact that they are my elder sisters. It was in 1962 that I was born, when my father got a phone call telling him that my mother had gone into labor. And he took a car from another province, and we arrived in the afternoon to a hospital in Caracas. Near the Andrés Bello Avenue and Venezuela Square. He found my mother reading a magazine. And he said, "What happened?" And she said, "Well, I've got no more pain." And then he managed her belly somehow, and the contractions were back, and I was born. With my first cry of joy. I was not in a hurry to come into this world. I've always been very patient. And it's been 62 years of intense life. 1962, November 23rd. And it means that today I'm entering an era of good luck, victory, blessings. So I only ask one thing from God: many blessings, peace, prosperity for the Venezuelan people, and good health and a long life, to help these people to push our history into a new socialist era, Bolivarian socialism, Christian socialism, a new form of humanism for the 21st century. It's been a beautiful life for me, I may say. Like Alfred Nazareth, the poet, thanks to life. It's a poem that was made into a song by Mercedes Sosa from Argentina, but it was written by Violeta Parra. And I say hello to all youth from around Latin America. And I say thanks to life. Like Mercedes Sosa used to sing. Thanks to life, which has given me so much. It gave me my father, my mother, the greatest people who took care of me and taught me good values. They gave me a way in life. At 12, at the age of 12, 50 years ago, I became a revolutionary militant by my own will. And then came a few beautiful years of fight and hope, always thinking that it was possible to create a new trail for our country, and always thinking with Ali Primera's song that it may be possible to create a society that may be where humanity may be human, which is what reads the lyrics of Ali Primera, so that humanity may be human, which is the chorus in his song. There was not any social cause in which I didn't get involved as a young man. Youth people should know that the best thing in life is to be learning, constantly learning from the people around you, from life circumstances. You should always be humble, simple, have your feet on the ground, and do things from truthfulness. Like Ho Chi Minh used to say, you need to walk with your own feet and think with your own head and build with your own hands our own land, our own society. That's what Ho Chi Minh, Uncle Ho, used to say when he built the armies of Vietnam, which defeated the French Empire and later the US Empire. And we also learned from the right of revolutionary Cuba, Fidel Castro, Che, Camilo, long live Cuba forever. We also learned from the struggles of the Sandinist National Front in Nicaragua on July 19th, 1979. There were always sources of inspiration to quench our thirst for justice, to continue the struggle by our own effort. I never got anything for free. Our generation was raised admiring the martyrs of the 1960s. We suffered persecution from an early age, from adolescence. It was a generation that grew with hope that one day in the land of Simón Bolívar, the time would come for Venezuela to speak with its own voice again, like Ali Primera, the singer, said. And that minute came on that February 4th in 1992, when our master, our leader, our eternal father rose to the public light, Hugo Rafael Chávez Frías. So I had great masters, but the greatest of all, the one who knew to incite all generations that had fought for our homeland, which gave us a common dream of a common project, who re-educated us and who taught us which was the way with an exemplary leadership, because Chavez never demanded anything that he would not demand from himself as an individual, as a special being, as a leader. If anyone can sum up the values of the new man, of the social individual needed to build a new socialist world, and truly human, that would be our commander, our supreme commander, Hugo Rafael Chavez Frias, and I dedicate all my struggle to him and all our victories. To all of us, it was a true revolution in our minds and in our hearts, emotionally. Because sometimes in books, revolutions are just thought of like a social process, but they do not dwell on what people actually think, feel, what leaders feel and think, how they face their own struggles. Because in the end, we're all human beings. And we have our virtues, which need to be cultivated. But we also have defects, or less virtuous traits. We all have our weaknesses, our mistakes. But in that permanent struggle of humans, through any age, in any epoch, and any circumstance, we need to foster a higher level of awareness, a strong will, as an individual, and as a social being, and as a country, as a people, as a nation. And that high level of awareness may allow us to face any test life may bring, life may throw at us, and be able to overcome such tests. And by overcoming each trial in life, we will grow, we will mature in our spirituality and our will for building a future time. It is a permanent struggle. As all the three previous anti-fascist Congress in September this year, the founding Congress that founded this powerful anti-fascist world movement, the second Congress we had early in November, which gather lawmakers from around the world, and this third Congress, which wraps up a foundation cycle to create this great youth, students, anti-fascist world movement, this force that has been born from Caracas. It demonstrates the main contradiction moving the world today. Our Commander Chavez said it in prophetic words when I studied all your speeches on this closing event. I always check some other documents, and I got these notes handwritten by Chavez on September 13, 2009, 9 a.m., he would publish these notes on Sunday, and he would call them Chavez's lines, and the world multi-nuclear, the new world. That's how he called it, the new world. And in 2000, Chavez said, although it seems like it was written yesterday, and I use my voice too, which is his voice as well, after this long tour, I have many interesting ideas stemming from this tour, and I will come back. I'm coming back home, convinced more than ever that it is absolutely necessary and possible. Chavez said, it is absolutely possible and necessary as well to bring down political, economic, cultural, and military hegemony of the U.S. imperialism, which it tries to impose to the whole world. Noam Chomsky was right when he said that the greatest dilemma of our times was hegemony or survival. If we do not bring down the imperialist hegemony, the world would fall into barbarism, and it was written 15 years ago in 2009. And a few lines down, he said, given the traps the imperialism is setting for us to derail our path, we need to create a community. So aren't these words still valid today? And isn't it valid for the whole 21st century? They want to derail us from our path. So we need to create a commonwealth, new ways for commonwealth, to create our own strategies for resistance. We need to resist and create, to turn destiny into awareness. As the French writer André Malraux used to say, that's why Venezuela continues and will continue to fight for a creation of a multipolar world. But that multipolar world that we want is not around the corner. He speaks of accelerating a transition to a multipolar world, and he says, accelerating this transition will depend on the clarity and willingness and political decision from core countries, that is, powerful countries. They would like us to continue to be isolated in the back lines of history, following the rules of the perverse game, which we know what consequences would have for humanity. They want us to defeat us each one by one, individually. So from this Caracas, capital of freedom, from here stems the great anti-fascist world youth movement to bring together young people from around the world for a different world. And I agree with the proposals you have made. This book, which is of the original copy of 1990, which contains the foundational ideas for the 21st century revolution, which are derived from Bolivar's revolution. You should make it known in all languages, in English, French, Portuguese, Dutch, Chinese, Mandarin, Farsi, Arabic, like this edition I hold in my hand, Russian, and any other language in the world, so that this book and these ideas of Chavez be known around the world. Because when you plant ideas, you are guaranteeing the future and the fight of humanity. A fight that would continue generation after generation, centuries to come. I suggest you read this article, which I would publish on social media today. That is Chavez's article on a multi-nuclear world. And I also agree with the proposals you have made, which were read by this Palestinian boy, represented Palestinian youth. He said, "A free Palestine, long live a free Palestine, long live a fight in Palestine." And I agree with all the proposals you have made. And I support the idea of calling for January the 8th, January 8, 9, and 10, a great anti-fascist festival in the world. And I would like to have thousands of leaders, young leaders, workers from around the world, intellectuals, peasants from around the world coming to join the Venezuelan people when I get inaugurated next January the 10th. That swearing-in ceremony would be a ceremony of swearing in of all peoples from around the world. A swearing ceremony of the peoples of around the world with the future, with peace, because on that day, January 10th, would be the swearing ceremony of a Christian anti-fascist socialist president, Nicolás Maduro Moros, a people's president, a homeland president. We will see you in the streets of all the streets of every town in Caracas. We will put up a good fight and we will get great victories. Okay. Let me tell you. Thank you so much for that slogan. If there is any trouble, I would stand with Maduro, but there will be no trouble. We will have progress, happiness, and lots of drums. The only trouble would be the sound of drums, which would sound like happiness. Youth should have their own slogan. Sarah over there. Yesterday I was with a group of friends and with my wife watching the game of our national baseball team against the U.S. We watched until 3 a.m. What a game. On the 8th inning, we were losing 5-2. We managed to put 2 players on bases, and a guy, Diego Castillo, hit a home run. And we had a tie, 5-5. Unfortunately, on the 9th inning, the Venezuelan pitcher threw a ball that became a home run for the U.S. team. But we were very close to winning that game. My congratulations to our baseball team, our national baseball team. They did a great job. Truly. My congratulations also to all the athletes on national games. The best national games in the history of Venezuela, bringing forth a generation that will have a great future in Venezuelan sports. I wish you a happy Christmas. We as Christians, we celebrate. We are gearing up to this holidays, festivities. We will welcome the birth of the child Jesus, who was born in Belém, Palestine. A Palestinian boy, Jesus Christ. We Christians, we remember him every December. Jesus of Nazareth, the one who entered Jerusalem, and with a whip he threw merchants from the temple. He was captured by the Roman Empire, tortured, insulted, and he was later crucified. But he resurrected to bring us blessings and good news forever and ever, for centuries come. And you must have seen yesterday how our people, from Friday to Saturday, and I see you have the faces of people who went to bed late last night celebrating. You were in St. Augustine, dancing to the beat of drums, dancing to salsa. Fascism can be overcome dancing salsa and dancing to drums. Those are the drums of peace. Peace. Isn't it? That's the slogan that I was telling you should have. Just study. We should study all through life, but especially when you're young. You need to take in the discipline of being a permanent learner, permanent student. And secondly, you should fight, fight, fight. In the streets, in social media, on a wall. Yes, to study. You need to study. Fight. I believe those are basic things at any age. To study, to fight, and also to enjoy. And no one should sabotage our right to a family Christmas, a joyful family Christmas. They won't be able to stop us. They haven't been able to do that and won't ever be able to do that. It's very important to draw conclusions. All of you, I believe you should all come together, the leaders of this Congress, so that we can soon articulate a think tank of students and youth, anti-fascist youth and students from around the world, to have your headquarters in Caracas and to draw in from great thinkers, intellectuals from all universities. That would be a plus to the effort that we have put into. And it will be great to feed today's struggle. And I also believe that the youth school Antonio José de Sucre, which will be inaugurated soon, at a very beautiful building, very functional building, almost finished. I wish we could inaugurate it now, as we celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Ayacucho battle. I propose that the site of that National Youth Venezuelan School, named after the great Antonio José Sucre, should be the site of the World Anti-Fascist Movement School, born here. And that we should integrate every teaching method from around the world, from China, Russia, Brazil, El Salvador, Mexico, Argentina, Honduras, Colombia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Bolivia, Palestine, from around the world, Africa as well, from Africa, from Ethiopia, Senegal, Mali, South Africa, Congo, Mozambique, Angola, Namibia, all the sister nations from Africa, from Mother Africa, Long Live Africa. So I propose also from Greece. You will make a great team, because we are getting so much great information of innovations in teaching methods and technology. You are a technological generation. You know the importance of technology. We're not talking about years. We're talking of things that we should have done yesterday. Okay, let me make a little pause here. We had new technologies applied on us. A media coup d'etat. A cyber-fascist coup d'etat. And we warned about it in time. We said the technological imperialism of the US and its European satellites applied to Venezuela and continues to apply a model of a cyber-fascist coup d'etat. It's not that it applied it in the past, it is ongoing. They call it the cognitive war. Some call it Jose Roberto Duque, a friend of mine. He said in Iguana TV, he said, I disagree with the minister Yanez. He had given a great conference on cognitive war. And he said, no, it's not a cognitive war. What they are doing to Venezuela is a cognitive massacre. If we refuse to follow the narrative of Europe regarding the war in Palestine, we say that there is a massacre and genocide against Palestine, so it is a massacre against humanity. And how are they doing it? Through two technological media perfected by the West. One, artificial intelligence, first generation artificial intelligence. There is talk that it's moving to super artificial intelligence, which has been fed through years with data from every country, every society, every culture. And today, artificial intelligence is ruling the cognitive war, the cognitive massacre, military war, economic war. It's not an exaggeration. That's exactly how it's been done. Through artificial intelligence, technological imperialism is trying to impose a fascist coup to humanity, to impose colonialism. I'm not using words unnecessary. Maybe I'm not saying it as completely as it is. And what's the instrument for that? What's the instrument provided by artificial intelligence? Social media, which are the leading social media in the world. I'll leave you with that idea. Aren't you going to found a think tank? So think about that. You should draw some action plan on that. We still have some plan, and we have something they don't have. We have 2 feet, a human brain, and 2 hands to fight on the streets in close contact and to win in the hearts and the minds of the people. Venezuela is an example today that it can be done, that we can defeat the cognitive massacre and the fascist cyber coup. We have defeated it. We are defeating it. And we will consolidate our victory against fascism on every level, today and forever. Take my words seriously. We have 500 delegates here from 71 countries who have come to create this anti-fascist youth world movement. Congratulations for the work you have shared with us. And I can see that the festival, Anti-Fascist Festival for January 8 through 9 will be a success. My wife says she agrees, so let's give her a round of applause. She's very elegant today. She's a very elegant woman.
Así que es bueno. Ya va. Es un congreso antifascista.
This is an anti-fascist congress.
Pero yo pensando,
I was thinking,
y lo propongo
I believe,
humildemente,
let me make a humble proposal.
que no nos podemos quedar solo en la lucha antifascista.
We cannot stand alone in the fight against fascism. Chavez spoke
Vencer la hegemonía,
of
no
defeating
llegar al tiempo de la barbarie.
hegemonies to avoid
Tiempo de la barbarie
a time of
llegó
barbaric
el genocidio contra el pueblo
policies, and the barbaric policies are here: genocide against
del Líbano,
Palestine, against the people in Lebanon,
Siria,
against the people in Syria
de Irán,
and Iraq, and against the people in Iran.
el ataque
Attacks, Nazi attacks
de Ucrania contra el pueblo
from Ukraine against the Pacific people of Russia.
el golpe de estado ciberfascista
The cyber coup d'etat,
contra el noble
fascist cyber coup d'etat
y noble pueblo de Venezuela.
against the Pacific and noble people of Venezuela, among other things.
Dice que el tiempo de la barbarie se asomó.
Barbaric times are
No
here,
podemos normalizar
and we should not normalize
tiempo de la barbarie
such things,
como pretende el imperio estadounidense
as
normalizar
seems to be the intention of the US people to normalize this horrible genocide against the Palestinian people. We cannot normalize
pretenden hacer ellos.
what they are pretending to do.
La Cámara de Representantes del Congreso de Estados Unidos,
The US Congress Representative Chamber
una ley
passed a law
absolutamente
which
todas las
violates
normas del derecho internacional.
every international norm.
Una ley que es una ley de guerra económica.
A law of economic war against the people of Venezuela.
Es una ley que han pretendido calificar con el nombre de nuestro libertador Simón Bolívar.
A law that they have the audacity to name after our liberator Simón Bolivar.
Y pretenden normalizar
And they are trying to normalize
el Congreso de Estados Unidos
that the US Congress
leyes contra
may pass laws against sovereign nations
para colonizar el mundo entero
to colonize the whole world.
y nosotros debemos aplaudir.
And they think we should applaud that.
No solo que viola el derecho internacional
It not only violates international
de
law
manera vulgar, flagrante, sino
blatantly,
que aquel ciudadano o ciudadana,
but
aquella persona
they consider that if there's anyone
vida que esa ley se aprueba desde territorio nacional,
who may ask that law to be passed from Venezuela,
o venezolano
they are saying that anyone in Venezuela who promotes,
que apoye la aprobación
who
de esa ley,
supports the approval,
que
the
pida
passing of that law,
sanciones criminales
and
y
those
la
who
guerra
ask
económica contra Venezuela, viola flagrantemente
for such economic war to be waged against Venezuela, they're violating Venezuelan law.
las instituciones están obligadas a actuar
And the Venezuelan state and its institutions are forced to act in the name of justice,
la soberanía republicana.
in the name of the sovereignty of the republic.
Aquel que pida guerra económica
Whoever
contra Venezuela,
within Venezuela urges, encourages economic war or the invasion of Venezuela,
los poderes públicos en nombre de la Constitución y
the
la ley
public powers in Venezuela, backed by the Venezuelan constitution, would need to act to preserve peace and the integrity of the country
futuro.
and the right to the future.
Yo tengo un artículo aquí también.
I also have an article here with me,
Recomiendo su lectura.
which I recommend you to read,
Periodista venezolano Clodovaldo Hernández,
by
que sacó el día
a
de hoy,
Venezuelan journalist, Clodovaldo Hernandez. Let me read you
porque resume
an
una
excerpt.
parte, valga la expresión,
It summarizes
sintetiza lo que es el pensamiento y el sentimiento de la abrumadora e inmensa mayoría de venezolanos y venezolanas
what most Venezuelans think
a esta ley basura
regarding this garbage law,
cuando
this
se le puede poner el
infamous
nombre de
law
Bolívar,
that they have named after
que
Bolivar,
nació en estas tierras
being Bolivar, the man who liberated these lands,
y el derecho a la vida del mismo pueblo de Simón
and an irony forbid a law that would hurt Venezuelan sovereignty.
Sí, barbarie.
Yes, these are barbaric times.
Sí,
Yes, it's fascism. It's a fascist law,
ley que pretende aprobar el Congreso,
a law that the U.S. Congress
pero les tengo malas noticias
thinks is looking forward to pass. But I have bad news for you. With that law or without that law,
su camino a la prosperidad
Venezuela would follow its own path to development and prosperity,
al futuro, a toda nuestra patria en paz.
to guarantee the right to the future for a
No
homeland.
le digo más porque hay invitados.
So I won't say anymore because there are
No le digo
guests.
lo que provoca decirle.
I cannot say what would come to my mind.
Para calibrar en toda su depravada magnitud
In order to understand the depth of the deprivation and perversity and cynicism and hypocrisy,
caro, la desfachatez, la desvergüenza,
the absolute
falsedad,
facehold,
y entre paréntesis pone, se agotan los sinónimos,
and I don't have any more synonyms,
la falsedad de la élite de los Estados
the
Unidos,
falsehood of the elites in the US.
apellido de Simón Bolívar,
They are using the Bolivar
una de sus
last
leyes
name
arbitrarias y
for one of their arbitrary extraterritorial laws.
o releer
We need to read
libro de Bolívar,
Bolivar's book,
precursor del antiimperialismo
for he was a precursor of anti-imperialist
docente cubano Francisco Pividal
thought.
un estudioso impenitente del libertador. Tuve la suerte en el año 86 en La Habana, Cuba,
In 1986 in Havana, I was able to
largas horas de conversación.
meet the author of this,
Francisco Pividal Padrón,
Francisco Piveld Padrón, historian,
de nuestro libertador.
one of the great historians on Bolivar,
Estoy de acuerdo.
who edited that book.
Depravada, perversa,
I agree.
cínica,
Depravated, perverse, cynic,
desfachatada, desvergonzada,
shameless, and false arbitrary law,
derrotada,
which will be defeated with the work,
y el patriotismo
the mobilization, and national unity of every Venezuelan.
podido
They haven't been able
podrán con nosotros.
to succeed, and they won't be able to do that.
Lo que dijo Diosdado aquí,
So what Diosdado said here, They won't return. They won't return.
Lo que dijo Diosdado
What Diosdado
estuvo
said
aquí
here
visitándolo,
when he came to visit you,
el fascismo
fascism,
es la política principal hoy del imperialismo en el
it's
mundo.
today's main policy of
No es
imperialism
el
in the
mismo
world.
fascismo
It's not the same fascism
en su forma de la época de Hitler, Mussolini,
of
Franco,
Hitler's times, the time of
aunque sí es
Mussolini
en su
and
contenido,
Franco,
porque es igual de
although
criminal
it
y
is
asesino
equally
y
criminal,
racista y colonialista y
racist,
excluyente.
racist and
Pero
colonialist
ahora es el
in its
fascismo
content. However, it
por
has
la vía
mutated
del engaño,
through
de las redes
deceitful
sociales,
ways
el
in
ciberfascismo,
social media. It's a
si pudiéramos
cyber
calificarlo así.
fascism, if we should call it that.
Y nosotros tenemos que seguir
We must continue
haciendo conciencia sobre este fascismo
raising
contemporáneo,
awareness of this
que
contemporary
está
fascism,
profundamente arraigado a
which
la
is deeply
ideología
rooted
de las tecnologías
in
de este
technology
tiempo.
ideology.
El fascismo se alimenta de la desesperanza, del
Fascism
malestar
feeds on
y trata de
hopelessness,
convertirse en una falsa esperanza
and it
como fue
erects
Hitler,
itself as a
que
fake
escondía
hope
detrás
like Hitler did.
todos sus crímenes abominables que luego la humanidad descubrió.
And all of his horrible crimes later discovered by humanity. It's a digital
Con
fascism
poderosas armas porque hoy
with
conocen
powerful
la mente humana
weapons
y
because
han
they
logrado
know
el
human
desarrollo
brains
tremendo en inteligencia artificial.
and they have
Pero
developed
así como
artificial
utilizan la
intelligence
inteligencia
tremendously.
artificial como arma,
But the same
nosotros
way as
también
they are
tenemos
using
capacidad
artificial intelligence as a
para
weapon,
utilizar
we
la
also have
tecnología
the
en
capacity to
ese
use
campo
high
de
technology, and
pensamiento
in that
y
think
en esa
tank
escuela que van a articular,
and in that school,
pongan un acento principal en articular
underscore, you should underscore the use of new technological arms for the fight against fascism in the minds of the people, and we should create new social networks,
nacerán. Ustedes la verán.
and you will see those new.
Heroica
It would be a heroic creation, innovative,
e histórica
a historic
poderoso
step
movimiento
of this powerful
estamos nosotros fundando
movement which we are
Caracas,
founding
Venezuela,
in Caracas,
que
Venezuela
nazcan
today.
nuevas formas de acción en las redes sociales
We should have new
y más
ways of
temprano que
acting
tarde
through social
que
media,
nazcan las redes sociales y las aplicaciones de este poderoso
and we
movimiento
should have, this movement should have its own social media and apps.
Yo decía que iba a ser una propuesta
I said I had a proposal to make
para que nosotros todo este poderoso movimiento
so that this very powerful anti-fascist
podamos
movement,
darle una perspectiva
we may put it in a perspective,
no solamente de resistencia.
not just regarding
El antifascismo
resistance,
es un concepto
resilience.
eminentemente de resistencia.
Anti-fascism, it's a
La resistencia
concept
tiene que ser
basically
intensa,
regarding resistance, which has to be hard,
sólida.
sound.
La capacidad de resistir
Our
al
capacity
ataque, a
to
la mentira,
resist
tiene que ser
lies
poderosa.
has to be strong.
Y de cada ataque tiene que venir un contraataque
And every attack needs to be countered twice as hard through ideas, through spreading the truth of this powerful movement being born here.
y eso es posible.
And that is
En lo
possible.
micro, en el barrio, en el
Starting from the neighborhoods, from schools, from the universities,
cultural.
from cultural
Eso es posible
centers.
en lo macro,
It can be done
en el país,
at a bigger level,
de lo
a
local
country,
a lo
going
global,
from local to global,
ir de lo local a lo mundial,
and from
y de lo
local
mundial y de lo
to
global a lo
world,
global, para articular un
and
plan
from the
de
world to
carácter
the
mundial,
local,
pero que no
to
se quede
articulate a
solo en la
world
resistencia.
movement which should not
Sino que
stop at
transite
resistance,
el proyecto, las ideas, el camino hacia el futuro.
so that it draws projects for the future.
Todo eso,
Our
un
commander
nuevo mundo.
called that the the new world. The new world that is being born. The new world to be built. A new world with hopes and dreams for the youth in every corner of the world, in every continent. A new world, he called it. So to all of the people who took part in the first September encounter, in the one on early November, and this Congress, we should complete the name of this movement. We should call it the Great International World Anti-Fascist Movement for the New World to be built, to complement the concept of resistance and the concept of building the future. A great international youth and students anti-fascist movement. And for the new world to be built. Yes, a new world that should integrate diversity of ideas, dreams of humanity. Fidel Castro said to Commander Hugo Chavez 30 years ago, on December 14th, 1994. And I remember that because ALBA was founded 20 years ago, and the first time these two leaders held each other, embraced each other, it was back then. An anniversary that we will celebrate soon. And Commander Fidel Castro said in Havana University, in the Great Hall, in the Magna Hall, he said, he invited Chavez to speak to professors. Chavez, who had just turned 40, he had turned 40 in Bogota, in Colombia. When he exited jail, he went to celebrate his freedom in Colombia. We say hello to President Gustavo Petro and to everyone in Colombia, the whole people of Colombia. So 30 years ago, Chavez celebrated his birthday in Colombia. And Petro was present there. He was very young. And then on December, he traveled to Havana, invited by the research Simón Bolívar Institution. Fidel invited him to speak at the Magna Hall of the university. He was wearing his uniform, his green uniform. When we walked the streets of Venezuela, remember, Celia? And Chavez spoke of the way he saw the future. And after Chavez exposed his idea of the future, Fidel Castro said, I'm impressed by your words, Chavez. They were getting to know each other physically on that occasion. And he said to Chavez, it was 1994, the social bloc, the Russian, the Soviet republics had collapsed, and there was a unipolar world. In Washington, they were drunken with power because they had no opposition in the world. It happens sometimes.
de poder mundial, se creen los dueños del mundo.
They sometimes believe they are the owners of the world.
Y Fidel Castro Ruz,
And Fidel Castro said,
la leyenda viviente de la revolución mundial,
a living legend of world revolution, said to Chavez,
Chávez, todas esas ideas hermosas que tú tienes,
all of those beautiful ideas that you have about the future of humanity, I agree with that.
nosotros en Cuba,
We in Cuba, we call it socialism.
pero si ustedes le llegaran a llamar cristianismo,
But if you call that Christianism, I would agree.
y si le llamaran bolivarianismo,
And if you call it Bolivarianism,
futuro de la humanidad, y cada quien
I
le
agree, because that's the future of humanity, and you can name it whichever way you want regarding taking into account your spirituality and way of life.
de la cultura humana, de la espiritualidad humana, y unirnos en función,
We should gather, like the Chinese President Xi Jinping said,
una humanidad,
we need to build a humanity
destino compartido,
of a shared destiny.
como dice el presidente Putin,
Or how President Putin says,
un mundo nuevo,
a new world without any hegemonies, nor empires, nor wars.
o como dijera ese muchacho, en el año 94,
Or as
40 años,
Chavez said back in 1994 when he was 40,
y presente comandante Hugo Chávez,
our beloved Commander Chavez, when he said in Venezuela
en el aula magna de
and he said in Havana
hace 30 años,
30 years ago,
Fidel,
he said,
el siglo XXI
Fidel, the 21st century
será nuestro siglo,
would be our century,
el siglo de los pueblos.
would be the century of the peoples.
Este es nuestro siglo,
So this is our century,
y nos quitará
and no one will take
que hemos conquistado,
the 21st century, which we have
y como
conquered with a lot of effort
los felicito,
from us. So congratulations, because today in Venezuela a great youth student anti-fascist movement is being born for the new world. Congratulations.
la patria humana,
Long live the human homeland. Long live peace. Long live life.
hasta la victoria siempre.
Forever
Gracias.
victory.
Que Dios bendiga.
Thank you very much. Humanity should be. God bless humanity.
Ay, qué noche tan preciosa. Dile, esta noche de tu día, todo lleno de alegría. Canta de esta fecha natal, tus más íntimos amigos, esta noche te acompañan, te saludan y desean un mundo de felicidad. Canta, canta, yo por mi parte deseo, lleno de luz este día, todo lleno de alegría, en esta fecha natal. Y que esta luna plateada brille su luz para ti.
We were listening to the statements of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro as he was leading the closing ceremony of the International Anti-Fascist Youth Congress that gathered here in Caracas, where over 1,000 people, over 500 were from abroad, all debating the ways to fight against this trend of fascism that is taking over the world and is putting humanity at risk. In the final declaration of the World Youth Anti-Fascist Congress, the international youth commits to the fight against all trends of fascism and expression of hate. They also condemn unilateral sanctions against sovereign nations. Also, the existence of NATO military bases around the world that put the stability of different regions at risk. The international youth also adheres to the charters of the International Anti-Fascist Organization and will continue to develop forums to raise awareness and strengthen the fight against fascism. They will also continue to work to foster as healthy ways to develop economies and fight climate change. The youth also plans, and is a proposal that has been met with satisfaction, that is to hold in January 2025 from the 8th to the 10th a huge anti-fascist festival and to stand side by side with the Venezuelan people during President Maduro's inauguration. Previously, representatives of the youth that were speaking on behalf of everyone here present, they proposed to create, and this is also one of the final statement and in the final declaration of the Congress, they proposed to create an anti-fascist school in Caracas to train think tanks and strengthen the fight against fascism. And this Congress, as said by the representatives that were here, proves that youth from all over the world are ready and determined to bring down fascism, and they pledge to continue fighting fascism together until a final victory. President Maduro provided the closing statements where he recounted a brief summary of the struggles of the Venezuelan people against fascism and how together the region, Latin American region, and the world is currently facing, is one of the greatest threats that the world is currently facing. And he expressed his full support to all the proposals made here at this Congress, and that they will continue to work side by side to create all the mechanisms and systems necessary to reach a final victory. On the issue of the school, the Venezuelan president proposed that a school that is closely to be finished, a school named after the great liberator Sucre, is to propose to turn this school also as a part of it, as at the headquarters of this international anti-fascist school, where people from all over the world can come and learn the new trends of fascism and how to face them, how to better face these new trends of fascism, so that a united youth front can be created and be determined to fight this scourge that is hitting humanity and putting the prosperity and well-being of the sovereign peoples of all the regions of the world at risk. We are seeing live images from Caracas as this Congress, this World Anti-Fascist Youth Congress, comes to an end. People celebrating, and what has happened here, also taking the occasion that it was President Maduro's birthday. That's why you saw on the images birthday cakes and all this was going on. But that's what just happened in Caracas. The International Anti-Fascist Youth Congress came to a close with different proposals, things that were approved, things that were seen with good eyes by the President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, and they're going to continue working together to continue fighting anti-fascist, to continue fighting this anti-fascist struggle, and to make sure that fascism around the world is defeated. Stay tuned with teleSUR English for more updates in upcoming news briefs.